Terry Raibley.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in small town America, little town in southern Indiana called Boonville, probably maybe 5,000 people in it.
Small.
My family was, you always hear of people that like their family was horrible and mine wasn't.
Okay.
My dad worked the same job from high school to retirement, a union gig. Always worked. My mom always worked. Like middle class family. Like I never remember going hungry. I don't ever remember a birthday or Christmas where I wasn't surprised or anything like that. I have a half brother and a half sister. Matt, he died in 1996. And then I have a half sister still living named Kim. She lives down in Florida. We don't see each other much or any of that. But life was normal. Played baseball as a kid growing up, football, junior high. In 96, there was a couple things that happened that really kind of changed I want to say outcome, but I love my outcome today. There was points in my life that I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing great. But in 96, my grandfather, so my dad worked third shift. My grandfather died, I don't even remember what month. About 3 months later, my brother died. Well, Grandpa was the one who taught me how to fish. We went hunting, taught me all the things that kids do with their dad, but my dad worked third, so I only really seen him on the weekends. Even though he was there, he was sleeping. He coached my little league team and all the things that dads do. It's just mine had a career. So I would see him on the weekends, but my grandfather, it seemed like every day. My mom, her whole life, my grandfather was a raging alcoholic. So my mom's whole life, he was like in and out, in and out, in and out. But I don't know if it was because of that, but I just always remember him being there. I always remember like spending the night at his house, and I remember him taking me fishing. But I also remember there was times when she wouldn't let me go over there. When he was drunk, when he would binge drink, when, and I don't know if I just choose not to remember that stuff, but it seems like I remember a lot more good times than bad. So my brother died in 96, so I'm probably 14. So he was 6 years older than I was. I lost my grandfather to cancer 6 months before that. And I remember my brother was a firefighter on his way to a fire run. The blue light sent him into a seizure. Drove his car in a lake about 10 feet from where the water truck was filling up. They couldn't get his seatbelt off and he drowned. So I remember like the firefighters' rights, the bagpipes, the 21 gun salute, all the fire trucks. I remember all that stuff, but, it was an honor, but it was sad. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I had seen him the night before, and he was working at the fair, working the demo derby as a firefighter, Tried to talk him into staying. He's like, no, I love you. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning or something. He said, I got a fire to clean up in the morning, and I got to go. So about 5 or 6 hours later was when he had the seizure, going to a fire, drove into a lake, and I always had those what ifs. What if I would have done something different? What could I have said? What if? But I want to say that's not the reason I started using. But now that I know what I know, that's why I started using.
Yeah, in hindsight.
It took me a long time to get to the point of that's why I started using. I realize it now. So all those things led up to his friends wanting to hang out with me. He's 6 years older than me. And so like I became anything anybody wanted me to be. started smoking pot, just normal kid stuff. I mean, but like my parents became so protective at that point in my life that I couldn't make the mistakes that other kids made. So I never got in really any trouble for several years. Like, I'm smoking weed. I began drinking all the time. I began eating a bunch of pills.
Is this in the high school time?
Yeah. I'm a freshman in high school when I get expelled for having pills.
So this is within a short amount of time following the death of your older brother.
Just a couple years, man, and I was full blown just running in the wrong direction. My parents are good people, but I never grew up in a church. So we didn't go to church. I didn't have a church family. I remember maybe twice in my life going to like vacation Bible school or something like that.
So at that time, did you feel like you had a sense of community at all outside of family to grieve and mourn with?
Well, I felt like for some whatever weird reason that hanging out with his friends made it where I could have been hanging out with him, if that makes sense. In my mind, I just began doing everything those guys are doing. You know, he was 19 when he died, and
you were 14.
I'm 14 years old.
So that connection, and you were close with your brother.
Yeah.
So the connection you had with your brother, he's absent now, and a 14-year-old Terry is looking for that same sense of camaraderie, brotherhood, connection, closeness, friendship.
Right.
And you're finding it with older friends that were more of knew your brother.
Right.
And you're very vulnerable at that age.
Right.
Very formidable, moldable, shapeable.
So, like, I started smoking weed with those guys, and I started eating pills, and like before I knew it, man, like the next thing you know, I'm selling pot, I'm selling pills.
So it's climbing, it's escalating.
Just so quickly.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, man, how did that go so bad? And it's like because I was running 100 miles an hour towards something that wasn't fulfilling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like an analogy that's worked for me, that's helped me, is seeing my life as a bucket, and there's holes at the bottom of the bucket, and we can fill that bucket with anything and everything. It's just going to leak out, and we're going to just keep trying to fill it, keep trying to pour something in to fill it, and just to have it full, and we can't keep it full, and it's just a constant pouring and draining, pouring and draining, pouring and draining, and then you're running out of things to pour into it.
Yep.
Man.
So, I mean,
Very tender for you. Yeah.
Freshman in high school, last day of school, I get expelled because I'm under the influence. So I spent freshman year in charter, which is a program that's no longer available. I feel like it was 30 or 60 days, I don't remember, of like adolescence. It was nothing but kids. And that's what it was for. It was for kids with substance abuse issues. So when I guess when I went to that, man, all I did was really manipulate the system. Like I was smoking weed. I knew that there was an aftercare program that after you graduated, you went once a month. So I realized I could smoke weed for about the first 10 days and then drink a bunch of water. And so I did all that and jumped through all their hoops. Yep. And like my parents were happy, right? But it didn't change anything. I didn't want to change. I didn't see there was a problem with it.
So you appeased people. You kind of kept everybody happy.
Yep.
You were peacekeeping, rather than addressing any of the core issue.
I mean, like for me, the cool thing that came out of it was I've smoked cigarettes forever. When I went to rehab, they were like, "Okay, you can smoke." I'm like, "Okay, perfect." You know what I mean? That's one less thing I had to hide from.
Yeah.
And man, before high school was over, I'm selling pot, selling pills. That's just what I did. I knew the older crowd, so I could always get this or that or whatever you wanted to do. And And I learned at a young age, like, you got to work. Like, you have to work.
I mean, you saw your dad, like you mentioned. You saw your
Yeah,
dad
my mom always worked. My dad always worked. Like, my dad was always like, well, you got to work. You got to work. Like, everything can be solved if you have a job. Like, nothing else matters as long as you work. So that's what I always did. Like, I'm 15 years old. And I remember my mom telling me, I don't know, a few years ago, probably 7-8 years ago, like, we encouraged you to work because we figured you would hate it so much that you would go to college. So the only fast food job I've ever worked, I worked at 16 years old.
Yeah.
At a Kentucky Fried Chicken. And
KFC.
like, that was miserable, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this really isn't for me. But there was a gas station that was hiring.
Yeah.
And it was back in, gosh, it had to have been 2000 probably.
This is pre 9/11.
Yeah, like, I'm not even graduated from high school yet, and I get a job at a full service gas station. You can't even find one today.
Well, you can't do that. I hardly do that now.
Unless you live in Jersey, they
Yeah.
still have them there. But I remember thinking, man, this is the perfect gig. Like, I pump gas, I could sell pot because people pull up, they pull off, they get gas, right?
So double dipping kind of.
So yeah, I mean, it worked out great. And I also learned how to work on cars. They had a little garage. They didn't do anything major, mostly like changing tires or maybe some oil. But my mom had a family friend that, like, the garage was his thing at this gas station. Okay. And I guess, like, they loved my mom and dad, so they never said anything about anything I was doing. They never was like, hey, your son is. But I also realized that he was really trying to teach me something. So I worked there all of high school. And I remember when I became a junior, I think. No, I was a senior in high school. I was doing a school to work program at North High School, which is 30 minutes away.
North is in here?
No, as in Evansville, Vanderburgh County. I grew up in Warwick County. And so my junior year, I went there because I had everything I needed to graduate. So a half day, I was taking vocational in Evansville because I'd already taken it to 2 years at my high school and they didn't offer anything. And I thought I wanted to weld. That's what I really enjoyed doing. So junior year, and I excelled. Like, I'd done really, really good at a different school for that half a day. But that didn't change anything. All it did, I was still selling pot. It just, it made it where I knew more people. Evansville is a bigger city than where I came from. So there was a lot of different aspects of things that I didn't realize being from a small town. So senior year rolls around, and then I think it was the second semester, the last bit of school. They're like, well, you can get a job and we'll give you your credits or whatever. So I went to work at a steel erector's place, welding full time, and I thought I loved it. And I'm still I'm still smoking weed. I'm still everything that goes with that. Like, at some point, I'm like, man, if this is what life's supposed to be about, like, this isn't all that bad because I enjoyed what I was doing.
So you're what, 18 at this point? Because you're just
18 years old.
18 years
I
old.
graduated high school.
So you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I figured there really hadn't anything bad happen. Like, it was just, and like my mom and them would find pot or smell pot or find some pills, or I'd be drunk. And like, it was always weird for me because alcohol was okay. Like, my mom and dad at one point in their life were both raging alcoholics. My mom's first husband she used to be. And when she got remarried and married my dad, that was the one thing. She's like, I will never be in a relationship with somebody that drinks again.
Yeah.
And so he quit. She quit. So I mean, I
And
remember
still no God in the picture.
nothing.
So your parents quit, like they started their recovery from alcohol with no relationship with God, just something they wanted to do.
Just done.
Yeah.
I remember my dad drinking maybe twice. And it was, I mean, some huge function. And I'm like, oh, he's drinking a beer. That's weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it, like, it
So
was
alcohol was normal. Like
it was okay.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not even 21 yet. And I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why one's better than the other. So I kind of took a left turn and just started drinking more. Still smoked a little bit of weed. I was still selling pot. It didn't matter. Like, I just thought, as long as they only catch me drinking, it's not that big of a deal. Because they would be like, just don't drive. So kind of fast forward through all that. 2000 and let's see, it would have had to have been 2007.
So a couple years later.
2004.
4 years later or so. Yeah.
So I got in a pretty major accident. Broke my femur, foot, ankle. Broke my femur on the right side, foot and ankle on the left side. Didn't walk for roughly a year. So along with all the other habits I had, like I wound up, and this is before the opiate epidemic, you know what I mean? 2004, they're still just prescribe. Like, yeah, I'm sure it hurts. So I ended up having 4 or 5 revision surgeries. Like, and I remember the doctor saying, you're drug seeking. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm drug seeking? Look at my leg, and under my skin, I had a thing that looked like an egg where I had developed like a calcium buildup because the screws he put in were too long.
Yeah.
And so he actually ended up getting like a malpractice, something or other, lost his medical license.
Wow.
And I found a really good orthopedic doctor that actually fixed everything.
Wow.
So I developed this pain pill addiction, and that's back when you could order them online. You could do the phone a doctor.
What? That's crazy. I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be like an RX thing where you could call. You paid a $75 consultation fee, and then you still had cash on delivery.
Yeah.
So like I was getting scripts from an orthopedic doctor. I was getting them online.
So you could just jump around, and there's no real network to kind of track where you're.
There wasn't. It wasn't it's in the computer system.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that back then.
So you just have to drive around and get it.
I didn't even have to go anywhere. I mean, I had the orthopedic doctor that was writing
come
them,
to you,
and then the other person was just on the phone. I just called and, hey, this is what I got. You paid $75.
So you're in your early 20s at this point, and are you still living with your parents or family?
So I got in the wreck, and I was still living at home.
So how's the relationship with your family at this point? Is it kind of going more? Is it getting more difficult?
Well, it was okay because I'm working.
Yeah.
Like, I hadn't really done anything stupid yet.
So it was almost as if, would you say it's safe to say that them being aware of your addictions, they were like you were being
they
enabled.
definitely enabled me especially my dad for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that with being guarded my whole life I feel like a lot of this stuff I could have got out of my system before I was ever 23, 24 years old.
Yeah.
So 2006, I end up, I'm with a girl, she gets pregnant. Me and her have been together since high school, so it wasn't like a new relationship. We'd been together forever. December 5th, 2006, she had my daughter, Madeline. And I really decided I wanted to change because I had a good upbringing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be strung out. I didn't want to take pills anymore. I didn't want to. And that kind of started the road to going to programs.
So you, again, God hasn't really been introduced in your life yet. He's in the background working, but you haven't really seen him yet. But the birth of your first daughter is what kind of God used to prick your heart in a way that maybe led to a want for something different, a want for change?
Well, and really that's kind of when he started working, like you just said, working on it. So I don't know, Madeline was maybe 3 and me and her mom split up, and I'm like, this relationship is toxic and I'm actually doing good. Not doing anything and quit selling everything. And I ended up, this is a funny story in itself. I ended up I bought a house, moved away from home, and I had everything that I was told you need to be happy. I had a new baby, house at the fence. We had motorcycles, cars, 4-wheelers. Like, we bought all that crap. I had a river camp, place to go and drink 4 miles from my house. And I thought that's what I needed to be happy. So after me and her mother split up, I was like, man, this is really weird. And so I get to a point where I'm definitely not happy again, and I start using. And I'm at this particular house, and when I went to rehab and got so sick from the opiates, I was like, I'm never going to take them again. I never had a thing for meth. I wasn't ever like, I want to stay awake. That was never I smoked weed because I wasn't stressed out. I ate pills because it was to sit back and relax. I drank.
So everything up to this point had been downers, numb, kind of just something to kind of not feel.
Yep. So I end up starting using meth. I'm over at a friend of mine's house, and he wasn't even a friend. Like, I've got a connection where I'm getting a bunch of weed and dope now, and I'm using this house that this guy lives in to kind of stash everything. And I go in one day, and this weird guy, man, I look back, and I'm like, you remember the old, what was that, DJ talk? What will people say when they know I'm a Jesus freak?
No. It's old. You talking about the old hip?
Like, that's the beginning of Christian music.
Yeah.
It was like, but like this guy's sitting there and he's like, hey man, I'm Larry. And I don't say it because I was raised where like, you're decent to people, you know what I mean? But I'm like, so?
Yeah.
Who cares who you are, right?
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, it's a pastor that I didn't feel judged by. So he invites me to church, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. I just wanted him to go on somewhere. And I'm like, man, that's really weird. And he's 6 miles from my house. And I'm like, maybe. And I'd done been to 4 or 5 other rehabs. I've been to a bunch of rehabs. And I'm like, man, maybe I should go over there. I'm like, they got a good youth program. My daughter's like 4 or 5. So I get involved, man. I start going to Bible study over there. His name's Larry Vincent, and the only reason I say that is because it's important. And like, I just don't feel like I fit in. It's a congregation where there's a few young people, but not many. And he puts me, like I go to Bible study an hour before church, and like I'm really trying, but once a week wasn't enough. And I've been going to AA and NA, and I felt like all I was doing was replacing using with these meetings. And I'm like, man, it's eating up so much time, like, and I'm still miserable. And I really tried getting involved, but the church was just, I was aged out. Like, it was a bunch of 60-year-olds. I mean, he's a 25, maybe 30-year-old pastor, super cool guy. But, like, I'm the youngest person at the church. So
he needed a community that could.
I needed something more.
Yeah.
And the reason I share his name is because, so I catch a DUI. and they court order me to all these classes, which I can teach, not a problem. I'll go to your classes. I've been studying for drug tests since I was 15 years old. I'll pass your drug test, whatever you want. So I did that, lost my license, and just the whole 9 yards that goes with all that. But once again, that was both for Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. So, like, my DUI wasn't a thing, so I caught another one. That wasn't a thing. And I look back now, and it was God intervening then.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I caught the second DUI on the pink slip from the first one. They used to give you a pink slip. They would keep your license and give you a pink slip and tell you if you got pulled over, show that to the cops. So I catch my second DUI like 28 days later. And that started the cycle of in and out of detox, rehab.
Are you still in your late 20s at this point? Or
Yeah, probably 26, 27, something like that. And I'm just in and out, and I'll catch a year of sober time, maybe 2, maybe 3. And then there's some more random. So for Madeline was, let's see, I think she would have been at the mission since. So 2016, I caught in about 7 days. I got in a bunch of legal trouble, right? I ended up with the possession of a synthetic or lookalike drug. It wasn't a DUI, it was an OWI. So I hadn't had a license since 2012. Driving without a license. I had like 8 or 9 calls numbers. And the reason I say that is because God kept intervening. My first charge was an OWI, and I'm riding a motorcycle in a possession of a synthetic or lookalike drug. So I bond out, and this is Friday night at 6 o'clock, and I'm selling meth, I'm selling weed I get out at like 10 or 11 o'clock. I'm out for less than 10 hours, and I'm back in jail for visiting a house of a common nuisance. Neglect of a dependent, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because I don't want to glorify what I was doing, but long story short is somebody had my meth. We were watching their kid. She got pulled over. They said, "Where'd you last use?" She said, "At my house." So that gave them probable cause to go there. So they opened the door. They charged us with everything in the house.
Yeah.
And I bond out again, and I'm like, man, I'm going to go to prison. I just violated my probation. I'm out on bond, all of this stuff, and I end up getting pulled over. I got a felony assault within the next 7 or 8 days. And they just kept.
So this is now spiraling at a more accelerated rate.
Oh, yeah. It happened so fast. I hadn't been in trouble in almost 10 years.
Yeah.
When I got the last DUI, because I just stopped driving.
Yeah.
I stopped driving drunk. You know what I mean? Like, I went back and forth to work, and that was all I did. But what I left out of the story is the meth problem came from a job that I was making more money than I'd ever made in my life. And they went from 412s to 512s to 6 to 7. And I was driving an hour and a half back and forth.
So the drug of choice switched because of the environment that you were in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had to. I mean, my days were 15 hours plus long.
Yeah, like all the drugs you were accustomed to at that point.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
You couldn't function at your job.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So that was when I got like real strung out on meth, and then all these court cases start rolling and spiraling, and small town America, man. I don't know if you've ever been in the court system, but I literally saw the same judge in the same week. Within a 2-week period, I seen her 5 times. And the last time she said to me, "Mister, I've got to tell this part of it too." So I cry out in jail because I'm hearing all these guys talking about God.
So in jail is where you first hear kind
of like the gospel. There's some random guy coming in. I don't remember who he is. And I shoot out this foxhole prayer. God, if you prove you're real to me, I'll serve you. So I'm already out. I've been OR 2 or 3 different times. I'm on 2 bonds. And this last time, I'm like, prove to me you're real, I'll serve you. Whatever it looks like, right? And so the next day, they call me out. They're like, Raibley, court. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no court today. Like, where I come from, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yep.
There's no court on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is a Tuesday, and I'm arguing with the sheriff that's taking me. I'm like, dude, you're an idiot. And I'm talking crazy to him, telling him just all kinds of stuff about, like, there's not court today. He's like, they called me. So take me in the courthouse, Sally Port, all that good stuff. We go in the courtroom, and it's dark. And I look at him, and I said, see, I told you you're stupid. There's no court today. So I'm such a good citizen, he handcuffs me to the table, and he says, hang on a minute. So the judge comes out, doesn't have a robe on, just street clothes. She said, let me finish my lunch. I'll deal with you. I didn't call for him. And I'm like, man. And I knew what it was. I'm like, there's no possible way she's going to let me out of here. There's no way. She's already smacked me enough times, and she calls the prosecutor away from his lunch, and he comes up, and he says, I want to put him in prison 5 years for driving, because I had all these DUIs and all this driving stuff, but all my DUIs got dropped to reckless driving, so I'm an habitual reckless driver. I don't have all the DUIs. It's reckless driving. And so the last time they arrested me, it was for driving a motorcycle without ever receiving an endorsement. And she said, Mr. Raibley, you need to go to detox. And I said, ma'am, I need a driver's license. I said, that's why I'm here, is for driving. She said, yeah, but it's relevant of you've got a drug problem. And I'm like, okay. She said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Are you willing to go to a program? I said, yeah. She said, how can you get there? I said, I can't. I've already burned all my bridges at home, like my mom and dad. Like, my mom's done, but my dad's still silently slipping me money because he doesn't want me starving to death. And she releases me to a 10-day detox. So I go to detox, and it was the weirdest thing, man. Like, there was a girl from Terre Haute that had been accepted at the household. She said, hey, I just got into an 8 to a 10-month program. It's faith-based. And at that point, like, I knew what I had said to God, that if he proved he was real, I would serve him, and I knew that. And I'm like, maybe there's something to that, right? So August the 4th of 2016, I got released from that detox. Got accepted into the household. The cop that I was talking crazy to, like, the whole way to jail. I mean, I wasn't saying anything nice. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't yes sir, no sir.
No,
it was telling him how dumb he was because there isn't court today.
Yeah.
But that guy said, if no one else will, Your Honor, if it pleases the court, I'll take him. And so, like, my mom actually took me. I called and was like, hey, I got released from jail. They told me they want me to go to detox or some kind of program. And that's how it was worded. And in my mind, I could have done the detox, and that would have been good enough for the court. But I still had all this stuff, right? So I'm like, maybe I'll call that place. So I called up here, and the lady is like, well, how'd you hear about us? And I said, well, this girl at Detox. Well, they automatically thought me and this girl at Detox have something going on.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, whatever. Like, for the first time in my life, I've been honest.
Yeah.
In 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
I'm honest. Like, that's how I heard about it. Why does it matter?
Yeah.
Right? And she's like, well, I want to refer you out. So I called the center in Greenville, Kentucky, which is the next closest. They're both about the same distance from where I live. And they accept me, but the court won't approve me to go out of state because I got all these case and cause numbers. Mm-hmm. So I call her back and I'm like, look, lady, like, I got accepted down there, but the court won't let me go. And she said something, and I said, you're exactly why I've never wanted anything to do with the church. You hide behind the church door and think you're better than everybody. And I cussed her from one side to the other, and what she said to me changed my life. I cussed her bad. And she said, I'll tell you what, get here by 4 o'clock or don't come, and hangs up on me. And that's what changed everything. Everything changed. I would love to say I went in there and didn't get in any trouble, that I lost every bit of the world, every bit of the running around with the guys that, you know, ran around in 1% motorcycle clubs. And I love to say that every bit of that, I became this great Christian, but I didn't. I was just doing what they needed. Right? Whatever they asked, I did. I got in trouble a lot. And right as I can make phone calls, I think I talked to my dad on Sunday. No, I talked to him, might have been Saturday. And so you got to be there 2 months to make phone calls. So I was finally there long enough where I can make phone calls, and I get to talk to my dad, and I have a visit on Sunday with my mom, my sister, and my daughter. They drive almost 3 hours up here to come for a visit. And Tuesday, my dad dies. And the mission was gracious enough to tell me, hey, like, the lady at that point, Susan Rowan, said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, like, I need to go, but I don't want to go, if that makes sense.
Because you were in the program.
Yeah, like, I don't want to leave, but, like, I do need to go. And she's like, well, we're going to let you go with accountability. And I'm like, that's perfect. You know what I mean? So I went down, I think, for 3 days, and just kind of, I got to see my dad. I got to help my mom with what we were going to do, what we were thinking. And then it was, I don't know, about 4 months, 2 weeks before my actual first visit. They allowed me to go down for a celebration of life, and we had a family get together, and like, I began to preach the gospel to, like, my mom, my daughter, done the eulogy thing and to celebration of life, and like, everything began to change. And she's telling me I need to come home, and I'm like, all I knew was all she needed at that point was for another project, but I wasn't it. So I stuck and stayed, finished the program, and I'm like, you know, we have a couple different things in the program that it does. So you could be one or two things after you've been there 2 months. You can be an assistant food manager, or you can be a senior trustee. So we call them STs. What they do is they check all the oil in the cars. They do all the construction stuff. They do any kind of building maintenance that needs done. So what I figured out since I've been at the mission is one of the reasons when I got away from the welding why I went to construction, my dad wouldn't tell me he loved you, but he would tell you he's proud of you. So I began to learn all these things that he couldn't do or wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So, like, I became pretty good at working on cars. I could fix about anything. And the career I chose after the factory work was construction, which is what I do today. I can build about anything.
So a lot of what drove you, though, especially even in the things that you're good at and which are great, you were driven to that because of a lack of connection and love from your father.
Right.
I'm proud of you, but I never heard "I love you." So I'm proud of you was like the second best thing you would pursue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what
But
else
every
are you
child
gonna do?
once loved. Yeah.
Right. And like I knew my mom loved me, I knew my grandpa loved
Yeah.
me, but like dad just didn't say it. He was
Yep.
that old school.
Yep.
Just you didn't talk about it, right? So I came to the mission, they put me in the ST department, and I came in August, and so about October I would have been a trainee, and we have our graduation banquet the first weekend in November. So what they did was they put me in there with a bodybuilder and a housewife, two people that they done good at their jobs, they just didn't know. So I done a lot of things that they didn't know how to do, or tried to teach them how to do, like painting walls or fixing holes, or all those things, and like I began to do that, and I was seeking just some kind of approval, and I didn't have to feel how I felt. So
you're in the mission. You're in the House of Hope. You've graduated, but now you're serving alongside.
no, at this point, I'm still not graduated.
You're participating.
I'm halfway through the program.
But instead of certain drugs, you're now seeking it through approval of other people.
Like I didn't have to. I learned a long time ago. Like if I stay busy, I don't have to get in my head. Like I don't have to think or feel anything if I'm worried about something else. If I'm working on something else. So, and that's been my whole life. But what they did for me was one of the best things anybody's ever done. Is they said, "Hey, like you're done. You're gonna sit down somewhere." And I remember Susan telling me that is like, "You're gonna sit down somewhere, bro. And if I see you working on anything, I'm gonna write you up." And
Time out.
yeah, and what I realized then when she made me sit down, and I didn't have, because I mean, when you were ST, you were 2 or 3 times a week, but you get certain stuff that people in the kitchen don't do. Like we're a co-ed facility, so like I can move around a lot. I can, and nobody ever questioned that. Like he's an ST, we're allowed to walk through the girls' end, or we're allowed to be working on this or that, or helping with donations. Well, when she took that, I couldn't do any of that.
So nothing to hide behind work, nothing to drown yourself out with busyness. Just you,
just me and the Lord. That was it.
and your thoughts.
Right. So like every time I started to get in my head, I'd just sit down and read. And I didn't have the attention span to, and like I'd been baptized and, was saved, but I didn't have the attention span to sit down and read Matthew or Luke or John so what I did was I read all the little books.
Yeah.
Galatians, Colossians, Philippians,
Titus.
1st and 2nd Peter, Titus, like
Titus is like a page.
But I read them for just over and over and over and over. And what it did for me was it began to take it from a head knowledge to a heart thing. So like even today I don't read a lot, but I could still quote different, you know what I mean? Like because the Lord told me a long time ago, like I used to sit down and try to prepare all these great messages. And I heard him tell me one time, "What, you don't trust me now?" And it done something for me. Like everybody's like, "Why don't you sit down and study for a morning devotions or a class?" And I'm like, because I trust the Lord. He's going to give me exactly what I'm supposed to do it on, right? So I still got all this court stuff going on. I'm graduating. And they're like, you going to stay? And I'm like, nope, I'm going home. Make my cake. I'm going to the house. And for some reason, when they ask it, they give you 3 days to pray about the next commitment. And I'm like, I just kept telling them, make my cake, I'm going home. And so when it finally came up, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I'll stay, because I realized that first 4 months I wasted. So this next commitment was 4 to 6 months. And I thought, if nothing else, and a guy that that mentored me, that was my sponsor for years, said, Terry, the worst thing that can happen for you staying there another 4 to 6 months is time in between you and the last time you used.
So nothing bad.
Right.
It's only positive.
And he's been sober probably 40 years now, right? And I'm like, you know what? He's right. Like, I messed around that first 4 or 5 months and had a lot going on. So what could it hurt? And then I wouldn't tell anybody, but I really kind of enjoyed what was going on. Like, at that point, I'd already worked through all the stuff with my dad dying, and it just kept resonating in my spirit of like, I will not be my mother's next project, right? So I graduate AC, I take a 6-month full counselor position, and I'm like, I got to get this court taken care of. So I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm out of here. Like, I've prepared. I said, I need to go to court, and I put in a request. House of Hope offers a reentry program, but usually you're going to be there 2 years probably at least. Well, I had a bunch of people in front of me for overseer, and so there was another year. I'd done been there a year and a half, so I'm looking at 3.5 years before I can get in this reentry. And I put on a request to do reentry, and I told the Lord, I said, Lord, if they approve it, I'm just going to take it as that's your will for my life. I'm supposed to do reentry. So all the directors, I mean, at that point, there was different people running the center, and they're like, yeah, there's a big line. So I had taken a 10-day, as a full counselor, you get one a year. And I took it at my court date time, and I go in front of this judge, and she said, Mr. Raibley, like, it's great to see you. And I'm like, I wish I could say the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because I'm still looking at all this. Last I heard, they're going to put me in prison for 5 years for driving. So I hadn't had a driver's license since 2012. 2019, I go to court, and she takes the recommendation from the prosecutor. He said, well, Your Honor, the state recommends 5 years in a detention center, right? Trying to send me to prison. And she says, the state's suggestion is under advisement. She said, but I'm here to tell you this. I'm not in the business of punishing people that have changed their life. She said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Mr. Raibley. You've been doing so great. Haven't seen anything. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to modify all this. She went back and she modified plea agreements I had already signed for probation for the first 2 cases I had. And I don't even know what else she did. I was just sitting there with my mouth open, and I'm like, wow. And I'm like, well, that's the Lord making a way for me to do this reentry. Yep. I don't have it hanging over my head anymore. She said, is there anything else I can do for you? And I said, what about my court fines and fees? She said, you got $1? I said, yes, ma'am. She waived all my fines and fees. I paid it. She said, go down to the clerk's office, pay him $1. Anything else? I said, a driver's license? She released my license in 2019.
Wow.
So I got my license back. So my world in 2019 began to change, and I'm like, man, this is the Lord preparing me, right? Like, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go do this and that, and it wasn't that at all. It didn't look anything like I thought. What he did was he made it where I was willing and still seen him moving. I go back on like a Wednesday or something, and one of the girls in front of me is leaving. I'm leaving. I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you've been here for 2 years. What do you mean you can't do it now? Right? She leaves. I'm like, that's weird. So I had the house on, I was weekend overseer, which is Friday at 4 o'clock till Sunday night at 10:45. Friday night, the girl over the office left. So the one girl in front of me left. Her boss left on Friday. And then the other guy that had just started doing overseer left in the middle of the night while I'm weekend overseer. And I'm like, that's really weird, man. Like, there was at least a year wait in front of me for overseer. I've already been pre-approved for re-entry that starts on Monday because you're off Monday, Tuesday. I was supposed to start looking for a job Monday. And everybody that was in front of me left, and I thought, that's weird. And they came to me Sunday night and said, will you do overseer? And I said, you know what, I think I will. Well, I did that, and then that was the only point that I thought, you know what, I think I'm going to get out of here, right? And that was in 2019. I completed overseer, took a year commitment after that, so I'd done been there 3.5 years or something, and then Susan dies. And her and George ran the center before me and my wife, and Susan dies, and I'm like, man, I didn't expect that. Like, it was 2020, COVID hit. She had went on a 10-day, spent time with her granddaughter, and when she came back, she was back maybe 2 months before she passed, maybe 3. And like, I'm a half director. I'm an assistant resident director, and I haven't even been offered a full director, and my time's coming up, and I'm like, I don't know what the Lord's doing here, but he's doing something. And she passed away, I believe, in March or May. And next thing you know, right before she dies, I'm promoted to a full director. And she calls me and tells me, hey, I just wanted you to know I love you. Congratulations. And I'm trying to tell her that it's not a big deal. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like, how are you? Right? Like, she's not doing well. And the next day or two, she passes. And I'm like, man. So 2020, I don't even remember the exact date, but so there's this girl that I couldn't stand at the mission. You got to be graduate staff before you can date. And like, I had this real weird feeling that I can't stand this girl. And there was something kind of maybe said. It was basically a conversation that could have went one way or another of like, maybe I do like that girl, right? So I don't want to do anything in darkness. So I go down and I tell George on myself, I'm like, you got to call Steve. He's our chief executive director, and tell him I think I like this girl. You're going to have to transfer me. And he's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So the next day he's like, well, you guys can court. You have permission to court. So we ended up courting, dating, which is weird at the mission. Somebody's always around.
Yeah.
Accountability. Like, it's really strange from a worldly relationship to a godly one is really different.
Yep.
So we got married in October the 17th of 2020 and been married since. Like, George died a little over a year ago. About 2.5 years ago, we were promoted to directors with George over the center. And like, when I look at it, I feel like I came to the House Hope to get off of drugs, but it never was a drug thing. I was always looking for something. I thought I had an alcohol problem. It wasn't. Like, number one, I had a sin problem.
Yeah.
Right? And then when I look around at people and I see the people in the world that has the Jesus problem, that we should all be able to relate.
Yeah.
And then we have a director at another center that had another program move in the same town they started. And she said, you know, Terry, I was really bitter about it for a while, but when I realized that we're all on Team Jesus, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And Terre Haute's the same way. There's 15 different programs over here.
Yeah.
Like, I hope they all do great.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to Larry Vincent for a second. So I'm at the mission, newly married, 2 or 3 years, and no, it had to have been longer than that. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm married, and we're out doing something, and like at the mission, we tell people, like, have them call us back. We don't return calls because I'm forgetful. So, like, I would prefer you call me back.
Yeah.
That way I don't forget and offend you, right?
Yep.
So the girl that's over the office says, hey, man, and she's really excited, and she's like, this dude came by, and he's new in town, and this. His name's Larry Vincent, and he wants you to call him. And I said, number one, I don't return phone calls. Like, have him call me. And I said, was that Larry Vincent? She said, yep. Well, that's the dude that got saved, baptized from the little Christian church 3.5 hours from here. And he had started he was a director of I think it was CTF, Community Transition Partners, out in Danville, Indiana, or somewhere out there. And so it had been this many years since I met him in that trap house. And he ended up at the same place I was at, and it was one of those God winks of, like, hey, you're right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I still have his number in my phone. I still call him and try to encourage him. Like, hey, man, if it wasn't for you planting that one seed, you know, and I get to do the same thing today.
It's amazing. First of all, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing God's work in your life against all odds in circumstances, in unideal circumstances, almost like a flower that blooms in a dark room. God was at work in the midst of deep darkness. And like you said, it wasn't just a drug problem, it was a sin problem. And you were looking for something more. The substances were the symptom to the longing in which they couldn't fulfill. And it was Jesus that gave you what your soul was looking for, that brought you to transformation.